gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah, go and share your gift. Yeah, your gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and fill your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mentality Unchained. I am Dr. Kevin Thomas, your neighborhood therapist. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mentality Unchained. Today, I want to talk a little bit about life in general. And today's young man, he's going to give a lot of insight. He's young, but I feel him so far. He has a old soul. And actually, that's kind of what I'm going to jump into in describing this young man. He's a millennial father, son, brother, uncle, and creative with an old soul. He's transitioning and learning what it means to be his own man. After losing his father at a young age, now surpassing the age that his father passed away, at being creating his own journey of what it looks like to be a man and a father. Wow, that's powerful. And he possessed a deep connection for life and people, a lover and learner, and a passion for purpose. Let's welcome Jalen Pulliam. Hey, man, thanks. I'm sorry I butchered your name, man.
No, it's not important
here. Hey, man, this is awesome. I remember you coming to one of the conferences we had, and you got up and spoke. It was so powerful. A lot of the young men, I asked them to hover around you once you made your statement, and you talked about what you talked about, and I thought that was really, really, really big for you to stand up and do that. So I'm glad you're on the show. I wanted you to be on the show to talk in depth about manhood, man, and like what's going on in the life of young men. Like you said, you're a millennial, and of course we're different in age, but I want to know what's going on with you, brother. So what are you doing right now, Mr. Jalen? Matter of fact, introduce yourself first of all. I don't
know if I could beat that. I don't know if you must have put the feds out. That's like accurately my life for
that's
that
you?
one. Yeah, that's
okay.
tapped in. I am a father. I am London's father. I'm Alicia's son. I'm Chris's son. I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams. But more so than that, I'm someone who's searching for a definition.
Okay.
And I'm someone who's find himself suffering from aimlessness currently. And I think that's a war of attrition.
Okay.
And I'm really here for help. I'm really here because it's necessary that I face what's going on. I understand that the next level for me is deciding how to chart this territory. You read in the bio that my father died when he was 28. I just reached 29. I'm 1 knock away from 30.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, when you're 15, you have the vision so crystal clear about what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Until you're actually approaching that area where it's train or tracks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm more scared than ever.
Oh.
And I know I'm not alone in that. I rap with my homies. I rap with the youth. And we're all going through it.
Okay.
And I think what we're going through here is I can't speak for all, but I can speak for self. How do you build confidence when there's so many things that would point you to not having it? Right?
Yeah.
I shut down a lot.
Okay.
I have a fear of sharing what I know. I have a fear of being all that I can be, even though I know I'm supposed to be. I know I have it in me. And I'm just trying to figure out what's the root of that self-doubt. What's the root that I keep coming up to? Why is it a cycle? Why is it 6 months of accomplishment, then 5 months off in depression? I'm trying to figure out what is it about not having a father that's making me overcompensate? How is that blocking my relationship with my daughter and our growth? I'm realizing that these problems that you have, if it's a problem, you can ask yourself, if I had this problem for 1 month, okay, if I had this problem for 2 years, if I had this problem for 10 years, it's probably me.
Okay.
So I'm here to face that.
Well, this show is about community. It's about mental health. It's about culture.
Yeah.
I think everything that you just mentioned encompasses everything that we're trying to do here today. Far too often, young men walk aimlessly throughout this world, right?
And angrily.
And angrily. I will admit to that as well, because I remember as a kid being an angry kid. You know, it took me some time to get to the point where I was able to find peace in that. You know, not being so angry, and I was looking for something though. So that was me. What are you looking for, and what prompted you to start this journey that you're on?
I would say it's just really the gift from God. It's really the quest from God. I really believe that the day my dad died, it was an angelic exchange. When something was taken but something was given,
Okay.
I do believe that the life I've lived up to this point has been to accumulate as much empathy as possible. If my father hadn't passed, I don't know if I'd have the level of empathy that I have for people.
Wow.
I grew up in a 2-parent household. My dad didn't leave me, he died.
Yeah.
And once I overcome the truth of what his death was surrounding, I realized how much of his life I'm still living. My anger comes from my crown being taken.
Wow.
My anger comes from not having answers when I needed to have answers. It comes from not having knowledge passed down. It comes from when kids had donuts with dad and where's mine? It came from my mom's working these many hours because of man's not here.
Yeah.
It comes from the pressure of living up to a ghost that you'll never have a conversation with.
Yeah.
It comes from the measurement of a man never being there and never feeling like my definition of what it was is solid enough. And then the competition of who do you test it against. And also everyone around me had a dad and I was the solo one out. And it was the jealousy and the anger and the envy around something that I had no control over. That's where my anger comes from. And it stems from losing my hero at an age when I needed him most, and the callousing of my heart, and how it taught me to live without certain connections.
You're a unique individual because most young black men choose to behave a certain way, especially with anger, based on their father leaving the home, or their father not being with their mother, or trying to help be the man for their mother. But your father was taken. Your father he passed away. He died. And so you felt like everything was taken from you as a young man. Finding out how to be a man now, is it difficult for you to navigate that field?
It's difficult when it comes to forming the brotherhood and the mentorship. I have a fear of getting close because I always feel like I'm borrowing a dad.
I like that line, borrowing a dad.
Yeah,
but
you can't really
but as a
take him home.
community though, isn't that what we should be gravitating to? Positive men, and if they come across as a father figure or a mentor, isn't that okay or not?
It's definitely, it always takes a village, and as our people, we've only gotten here because of that.
Okay.
I mean, Papa was a Rolling Stone. We know what happened on the 3rd of September.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But if it wasn't for my uncles, if it wasn't for the spirit of my great granddaddy, I don't know where I would be. Right.
Gotcha.
So I understand there's people that come in and fill the void, and for me, it's growing up. My mom always said, "Sorry, Mom, I hate to put you on the front street."
That's okay.
She always said, like, "You're ungrateful."
Yeah.
You know, my sister and I particularly were ungrateful kids.
Yeah.
Because although something was taken, my mother did everything she could to put us in position so that we could be all that we could be. And compared to my cousins and stuff like that, I have no complaints. I love Alicia. I would definitely choose to be her son every time.
Right.
But it was like I feel that love, but I still yearn for it. And then when you have that feeling for so long, you start to feel wrong for having it. And couple that in with how we're trained up, the child doesn't flee from that. You're trained that you're supposed to honor thy mother, thy father, and at a certain point, people weren't answering my questions. I don't know this guy. There's parts of me I need to know where I get this from. I'm not seeing it. I feel like an alien here, you know? Yeah. And as far as how that commits to the culture and how that projects to linking up with like older people are forming a bond. Me personally, I've always kind of been a solo act, just naturally.
Yeah, I understand that.
But it's just tough to feel. It's tough to feel the belonging. It's tough to feel the belonging. I used to say I wouldn't wish eccentricity upon any black boy, but I'm gonna go ahead and like retract that, because I was an eccentric kid. Like I knew my ABCs at 1. I tied my shoestrings when I was like 2 and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I was an advanced kid, so I never had an issue with speaking adult.
Okay.
But speaking to my peers and stuff like
it's
that,
difficult, right?
I just didn't have I wasn't crewed up. You know, no knock to it, but that's just not how I came up. So when it comes to reaching out, it's always you have to figure it out first. Yeah. You have to deal with it first. Like it feels burdening to put it on somebody. And it also feels like an exercise in futility.
How old were you when you lost your father again?
5 years old.
So 5 years old. So it feels like to me, and it also sounds like to me, that there was some elements of missing the fathering. Yeah. You know, I know you said you had your uncles and things of that nature, but there's something about having a father, your biological father, in your home or with you, raising you. It's something about having that connection, you know, and a lot of people don't understand that. So we do reach out and find it through other people and other men, hopefully positive men. But at the same time, that missing of a father, that your biological father.
You know, we search for it any way we can, because I feel like we have thought fathers. I feel like Kanye raised me as much as my dad would have. You know, I feel like, you know, my Uncle Corey played a pivotal role. I feel like, you know, the mind, how it works is it's not going to actively go without what it needs. So even if it deludes us to believe that this form of whatever it is, whether it's why we connect with gangs, whether it's why our you know, our uncle might give us that beer when we're 5 years old, we don't really need it. Like, it's the culture, right? You know, but that's still, Betty White said it. It's better to have a piece of man than no man at all. It's better to have a piece of a father figure than nothing at all. And it's slim pickings out here, right? If they're available. And what we really want to speak about is the conditions. Because once I got older, I started realizing it really wasn't just death that took my father. Okay. Right? It was the drug addiction. The drug addiction comes from this. This comes from that. That comes from this. And we start realizing, I'm not alone in this. He's going through it. He's going through it. And the irony is, why do they all look like this?
Well, that's a deeper discussion. I think that we were born into a I hate to say culture, but I'm gonna use it anyway. We are born into a culture of struggle. You know, of opposition, of oppression. You know, we from birth we wasn't given a proper chance to be individuals. Now, yes, God gave us life, you know, and that's beautiful. But at the same time, in that life, as we are born into this world, environments, places, things we encounter dictates how this behave. And there are always roots to everything, you know. So you can always connect the drug addiction back to crises or things that people can't handle or deal with. Life itself.
I have a theory. Nobody's confirmed it for me.
You have a theory?
My father's first child died when he was a baby.
Okay.
And from what I pick up, that's when he started picking up.
Gotcha.
So it's no different than cracking the bottle, right? It's how do you deal with the pain when you're sober, right? It's taught. You know, I remember so many nights where things that you come to realize that's just not normal, dog. I'm not District 2. I'm from Rockford, born and raised.
Okay.
Rockford Memorial Hospital. But I'm not District 205. Okay. My mom decided white ice was colder when it came to education and sent me to Harlem, right? So I was the only black kid in the room.
Okay.
I'm not saying that exalting. I'm saying that because I grew up behind enemy lines.
Okay.
But District 205 and being from Rockford, you see so much of our people dealing with things that way. I didn't have to be from it to feel it.
No.
It's only literally down the street.
Absolutely.
So how many cousins have I buried in this city alone because of alcohol, because of situations that led them to that, because of the habits we pass off? You know what I'm saying? It's at what level are we going to see it as in-house healing? You know, that's what I'm here to do. I want to be a case study. I'm bringing my truth. I'm a private person. I'm a recluse. I'm the Bruce Wayne of Rockford. You know what I'm saying? Like,
You're the Bruce Wayne
I'm
of Rockford.
finally getting out the cave because hopefully my truth resonates and we can do something about that. And hopefully I can find people to help me heal too, because I'm not going to be any good for no people in this condition I'm at if I'm not willing to face what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying?
You bring. This is heavy. So I'm gonna put a shameless plug out there, y'all. Yeah. This is my research on does intergenerational trauma influence growth or a fixed mindset in ethnic minority. This right here, I engaged in wholeheartedly. And what I come to learn based on what you're saying and based on my research is that intergenerational trauma or just crises that are passed along, right? From grandparent to parent to child. What I've come to learn is that a lot of things we do is learned behavior, right? We have this idea of what happens in the house stays in the house, right? Just keep that in mind. A lot of times, things that happen in the house do not stay inside the house, because for the simple fact is that when you behave out publicly, you're displaying how you behave at home. Yeah. And most of the time, that is a learned behavior that you've picked up along the way. Yeah. And what tends to happen is that learned behavior is passed to the next generation, unknowingly and unconsciously. But it passes along, and as it's passing along, until someone comes to a place where you're at, where you're trying to figure things out, these things continue to perpetuate themselves. And as it continues to flow, it goes from generation to generation until someone steps up and says, you know what, Dad did this, but that may have not been the right way, you know? And so we have to make a conscious decision personally to say, okay, I need to make some changes. And this stops the flow of these things flowing from generation to generation. So they definitely start at a place and they always end up in the current generation if it's not combated between that generation and the next generation. Yeah. So we must understand that when we're doing things as if, you know, you have a daughter, you have to ensure that you're not taking on things of your father that he took on from someone else, right? His vice was to go to drinking or drugs based on the crises. I can't deal with something, so this is what we do. Grandmother may have done the same thing. And so now if you're dealing with something, you can't go and say, okay, I need to pick up a bottle or I need to pick up a drug. Your thing now is to consciously educate yourself. So guess what? When your daughter goes through these things, you can consciously educate her so she can continue the cycle. So now we're breaking a cycle, and then we're also creating a healthy cycle. So that's where we have to be when we're talking about these vices and these things that are passed on, and that we're trying to now, to be honest with you, if Dad was really forward thinking or for the future, he would have done the things that you're doing now. So you wouldn't have to deal with it and try to find your journey now. You know, these things could have been taught early on where you can learn how to deal with those things.
When you spoke about when we first met at the event, you said something very profound about the animal kingdom and the elephants and the lack of male elephants or what it's done to the generations. Yes. And there's another animal that I think symbolizes what we go through as a people, and it's the octopus. The octopus is one of the most intelligent creatures on the earth, right? It can get in any situation, camouflage, is genius.
Camouflage, all that, yeah.
The sweet spot, the connector is when when the father passes on the life, it passes. When the mother gives birth, it passes. All that generation is first generation. Never gets a chance to transcend down.
That's true.
Imagine. Tomorrow is the most arrogant word I've ever heard because of my father's passing.
Wow. Explain that.
It never gets to come. I'm sure he thought tomorrow would be the day, but it was just one bad batch. And your daughter doesn't have a father. Your woman's raising these children. Your mother is not picking up a habit because she can't deal with the loss of her son. I'm here because I'm at a raise with my daughter. I'm here because I am no better than my father. My addiction just isn't in a needle. My addiction is denial.
Yeah.
My addiction is to sex it away. My addiction is to... Gil Scott said it best. You see that black boy over there running scared? His old man's in a bottle. I roll it up. I think I hit a joint this morning. I'm self-medicating to deny the fact that I'm not satisfied with where I'm at, and that what I need to face is inside, and I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid to just let the anger out. I'm afraid that I'm crazy again. I'm afraid that I'm going to get institutionalized. I'm afraid that I'm going to walk out and I'm going to lose my mind. I'm afraid this world's going to take me under. I'm afraid that I'm going to fail my daughter. I'm afraid that I'm not a good enough son. I'm afraid the shutting downness is only going to get worse over time. I'm afraid that if I don't change, my life won't be worth living. Because if this is the quality of it, I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
And not even just so much for myself. I'm more afraid that, at least what I can say about my father is whatever, but I can't say that he abandoned.
Yeah.
I can't say that he fled.
Right.
That's on my resume as a man.
Right. I understand.
And I need to, and I want to, and I'm under the process, the construction right now, of addressing that, because I'm about to hit 30, and these next 30 has to be exponentially more meaningful and more connecting. And I think for manhood is often framed as opposition of femininity, but it's really opposition of boyhood. And because it's counterpart to femininity, it's not really a contrast, it's on the spectrum, but it's definitely oppositional to boyhood.
Okay.
And the checklist that I had, as long as you pay the bills, as long as you do that, that's not.
But that's passed on too. That's not. That's not a criteria for being male. It's just passed along. It's passed down. And back to what you were saying.
There's a lot of shame going on.
So many young brothers, old brothers, suffer from what you're suffering from. Is fear to be a man that is not defined by your culture. And let me say that again. Fear of being a man that is not defined by your culture, because culture says that you got to take out the garbage, you got to go to work and provide, you don't cook, you don't wash dishes, you don't do these things. That's culture. That's not a man. And so I always give that question to a lot of my male clients, is like, who taught you how to be a man? And if they did, how did they teach you how to be a man? And so I truly believe, this is just my opinion, I believe that men become men the way they see a man. Because if I see a man based on those things of what my grandfather did, man, I could not live in this day living like my grandfather lived. So I had to adapt, and we have to learn how to adapt. So much so that we can't be afraid to be different. I want to be different. I don't want to be a typical man. I don't want women to say, "Oh, he's just like the other men." No, I'm different. And so you have to want to be different. And it is ultimately the male's responsibility to shape himself. You see things out in the world and you gravitate and you pick this and you choose this. They become part of you. You choose what you want to be. I truly believe that God has given us all the ability to think clearly and think wisely when it comes to our lives. Now, whether we're going to follow the in crowd and do what society says a male is, because quite natural, society says black men are
supposed to be dead by now.
Right, exactly, right? So for you to be 29 years old And 1 year past your father's death, my father died at a young age. I'm about to be 50 years old. And so for me, I feel like I've already surpassed and those things that plagued my father.
Yeah.
Even though he started to get things right toward the end, but I didn't have him in the home with me. So I was raised by my grandfather.
Yeah.
And so those type of nuances help and shape me.
Yeah.
I always said to myself that I wouldn't be this. And the only reason I wouldn't be this because I seen this. So if you see evil, do you run toward evil, or do you try to do something different? And so we as young men and young black men, we have to search ourselves and be responsible for our behaviors, for our thoughts, for everything that we do. Because ultimately we can't say, well, because I didn't have a daddy, that I get that. But you have a mindset that can say, you know what, I'm capable of doing whatever I want to do.
My mom, you always called it the crutch. She said, I can't let you use it as a crutch. We always used to watch Ray, and Ray's mom never let him be blind.
Treated him just like he was a normal kid, right?
And that's why I thank God for my mother, because she has a champion attitude. She's a lioness, true and true. Not just her, zodiac sign. She's a real lioness. And I feel that. I feel like sometimes, because there's a special place. I don't know if it's biblically, but I did read it in a my favorite painting of all time is The Garden of Earthly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch. You should check it out. It's beautiful.
Okay.
It's a triptych on the fall of man.
What's the name of it again?
The Garden of Earthly Delights.
Okay, The Garden of Earthly Delights. Okay.
And he has this symbol in there of this blind man listening to the music and seeing something, but it symbolizes there's a special place reserved in hell for those who know and turn their eye. I'm not going to be forgiven because I've been given the blessing of knowledge. And I am my grandfather's last student. And I did have proper examples. And a part of me knows that the confliction I'm going through is because I'm living antithetical to my training, right? And antithetical to what our people, black people, have worked so hard to get here.
Okay, stop right there for a second. I don't mean to interrupt, but stop right there. Like, why do we live antithetical to the way our ancestors really intended for it to be?
I wrestle, am I wicked or am I weak?
Okay.
Is this like I said, the Garden of Earthly Delights? Is this really going to be the enticing thing? What's meaning? And I've been living a hedonistic lifestyle, and but it's transient though. All these things are transient. If you could describe life in a word, it'd be impermanence. None of this is going to stay here. All of this is subject to change.
Right.
And the only constant is how you perceive yourself and how you love on others. And I'm realizing that now, and I'm realizing the way I've ran from that, because I was trying to overcompensate for things I thought the man was supposed to do. I thought you were supposed to have all the girls, or you're supposed to be smart, everybody's supposed to, like the Mamba mentality is beautiful, but if the drive isn't, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like for all my millennials out there, anybody knows what I'm talking about. I feel like Sasuke, like there's a moment where he found the truth about Itachi, and he didn't decide to protect the village. He decided to destroy it because of the anger and the rage of living your life under the guise of a lie. You feel imprisoned to it. And, for me, it's the rage against the machine. Like, I know I'm better than this. How come I can't get in my own way? And how can I get out of my own way? Why am I always stopping myself? Why is this hubris? Where does this arrogance come from? Where does this, like I'm just confused. Like, is this who I've always been, and I'm just not waking up, or is this who I'm becoming? That's the question on my mind right now. And as far as generational goes, and I feel like for the people that went through chattel and antebellum slavery to take a language that's not even theirs, teach just our story, just the story from slavery to freedom is enough to make all of us walk around with our head held high.
But it doesn't. Why? In your opinion, why? Because the millennials are definitely not walking
Our people
around
perish
with
from
their
a lack
heads
of
high.
knowledge.
Okay,
Our people perish from a lack of
so
knowledge.
are we not teaching the knowledge that we need for them to hold their heads high based on what you're saying?
And that's personally, yes, I
Okay.
believe that. I believe how our history is taught. I believe our lack of language on the subject, and I believe our focus on getting other people to validate who we are versus doing it for ourselves is an impediment.
So you think it's all validation from others?
Yeah, I think being even the term black is by definition opposition to white. Our very self identity is rooted in being in behind enemy lines in a country you built. It's behind you're like we are the only people that had to be recognized as human. We can't ever we don't live in a vacuum, guys. Dr. Amos Wilson teaches us we use psychology on a micro level to reflect it on the macro level.
Absolutely.
So we can't ever forget that. Am I really this self conscious, or does somebody tell me this nose is too wide? You know what I'm saying?
What do you say to the young man that will tell you, "Oh, Jalen, you just spewing all that traditional, that cultural stuff, man.
I tell
We
him
live in a different era,
no,
you know."
no.
What do you say to that young man that do that?
You whoop their ass with scholarship.
Oh,
You put BTA, pardon my French, belt to ass with scholarship. I'm a researcher. I am a black R&D artist.
okay.
I spend majority of my time, majority of my day finding out ways to combat the situations we go through and develop programs, systems, services, outlets. Like I believe we need psychodramatic therapy in our community. I believe we need to stage these emotions and give people range to express themselves. I believe what we learn and what we're taught in dramaturgy, what we're taught in acting about how to manifest the soul and recreate scenes and objective. If we were given, because they're never going to democratically give us the resources to mental health. But the beautiful thing about being African-based people is our ancestors already have. We just need to be able to stage it.
Well, here's the thing though with that, because and I'm going to push back just a little bit, just because I love this conversation.
Yeah, let's go.
The fact of the matter is that even in staging, even in bringing these things to the community, there is a group of people that will totally refuse, which will ultimately influence the ones that want to, and it becomes more of an issue of a pull and tug of whose voice is louder, right? And so in that, and reason why I say this is because I'm constantly in the community shouting from the mountaintops about what we need to do as a people when it comes to mental health. And not so much of the mental health part of knowing and understanding diagnoses, but more so of the mental condition of our people. And that's one thing that we struggle with, understanding that there is a condition that we've been conditioned to believe about ourselves. And especially when it comes to, any type of mentality based thing. So we have to understand that even if there's opportunity, you have to want it.
Yeah.
And so we have a group that really don't even want to hear this conversation. Yeah. Because it's over their head to the point where it's not relevant to me getting the next pair of Jordans.
However, the beautiful part is that conversation has already been had. This is a conversation that Martin Delaney and Frederick Douglass had. This is a conversation of, do we assimilate? Do we integrate? This is a conversation of, are we really black? Are we really American? This is a conversation of, that's not going to work. But it's also, we need that too, because I don't think Kobe would like playing in this era because the level of competition is just too low for him. I am somebody that if you got a fire, throw more coals on it. We don't even need everybody to do it. You need a demo tape. That's why Rockford is so beautiful. This is probably improbable in Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, Atlanta, maybe not Atlanta, because of, like you said, we have a northerner mentality. But if you have a small city like this and there's only 6 degrees of separation from who you need to be to, there's enough people here, and long as the love is strong enough, genuine love of what we're doing, not what we're up against, it can be accomplished. I'm wholeheartedly believe that. And even so, I think there's 2 things that need to be done. One, we have enough empirical evidence as a people, y'all. The streets are not our leaders. We've given them the reins. We've given them we've given we've given them the reins and we see what happens. That's not it. We're going to have to trust the black eccentrics. We're going to have to get back and we also have to challenge the intelligentsia, because it's written in the Crisis of the Negro Intellectual. You have to be able to navigate between our everyday people, our everyday folks. You have to be able to handle those folks over there.
Yep.
And you also have to be able to have an opinion that unites us economically, politically, and culturally. And once you do that, you'll start seeing some change around here. But it takes an R&D department, it takes think tanks, it takes symbiosis, and it also takes another reason why I think the psychodramatic thing is because what we will be doing is exalting the ancestors.
Yeah.
What happens when you exercise those demons? What happens when you get that out? What happens when you? Because ultimately, our truth is all distorted. The older the memory is, the longer it gets distorted. It's really the emotion you're trying to get out. You know what I'm saying?
So I hear you. I hear you. But there's a level of emotional intelligence you have to have to assimilate those things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because if you're not confident in who you are, and if you don't know who you are, if you can't express who you are, that's an issue.
Yeah.
And so where we are now is we're trying to find our way in the dark, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that illuminated the way.
Yeah.
We just don't see it. And how do we illuminate something and still be blind as a people?
Yeah. Well, I think first off, I think as a group, I can talk about this for 16 hours straight. I got a lot of theories and suspicions, but I think as a group, as a people, we thirst for the knowledge. When I talk to young men, even at my job at PCI or whatever, they're perked up. Their ears are perked up. It's just nobody's talking to them.
You feel that nobody's talking to them, so they're not really listening.
You see why Tupac's popular. That message. Why does he resonate? Because we feel that.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
We feel that. That's why he has the voice of bravado. He has the anointing, but that's not alien talk. We know black are the berries, sweet juice. That resonates. These are things that people want to hear. It shows you people want to hear this. Are they in contact with it?
Okay.
On a physical level.
Okay, think about this. Okay, you just said these are the things that people want to hear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But does it necessarily mean that it's prudent for them? Because even if they want to hear it, is it what they need?
I think it's a moonshot ambition.
Okay.
I think it's a moonshot ambition. I haven't done it. This is just a theory. Like I said, I haven't put it to practice. I'm getting out of the cave. I'm just putting this into the universe.
You're getting out of the cave. I like that.
But I think it will work. And my heart wants it to work. And I have a certain vision on it, a particular perspective of how even solo dolo I could make it work with the right infrastructure. But I think that for me personally, and just people I've spoken to, and the feeling I have in my heart, people don't know it. Like if you ask, Henry Ford said it best. If I asked people, they would have said, "Give me a faster horse."
Yeah.
You just can't give. Nobody was in 1982. Nobody was thinking, "Hey, I would like to scroll my phone." Steve Jobs said, "I'm going to give it to you. I don't care what you like." And you know what? Matter of fact, I know it better than you. Why? Because I need it. This is what I need. The greatest artists, they either put a mirror to your society and reflect who you are, or you I forgot the other thing, but you know what I'm trying to say. Sometimes you can't give them what they want. You give them what they need, and our people are used to that.
I agree.
You have to be honest about the situation.
Transparency is everything.
Super honest about the situation.
You have to.
If they decided right now, hey, blacks, no Walmart no more, no Target no more, no True Religion no more. If they just said Jim Crow's up for the next 10 years, like what will we be doing? We will be congregating. Why? Because there's a commonality. You have to have a threat in order to move the situation. We have not played Connect 4 in a while. It is not even rocket science. If you can just sit down and have these conversations on a mass level, the way we really wrap behind closed doors, you would see how many people feel the way they feel and resonate. Like, we just need to give them the language. You're not giving them the language.
So you're telling me the language is the barrier for
everything in life.
For holding more specifically, black people from moving to attack the threat. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, there's 1,000 things that are
Okay.
really stopping us. But
Okay.
what I believe everybody has an angle, and all contributions are necessary. It's all hands on deck.
Okay.
I don't have all the answers. Collectively, we'll get there. This is how Rome was formed. This is how America was formed. You thought Madison liked everything that Hamilton was saying. We're going to disagree, but eventually, how are we going to constitutionalize our direction?
Gotcha.
So I do believe that the language is the most important thing, because language is the reason our brains go against us. Everything works symbolically. That's a chair. That's a this. That's a that. That's how the mind actually works. But the language we have keeps us separated from actual growth, because how we speak on things, the I am statements are so powerful and profound. Think about it. How many of us separate who we are from our mistakes, or I am angry versus I'm feeling anger?
Yeah. So so here's the thing. Me being a therapist, language and intent is extremely important.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe that we as a people have to be intentional in our growth. Because if you're not intentional in your growth, you have this laissez-faire type of attitude and way about going about things. You can't grow from that. Right. You have to have an intentionality to where you're going. You have to also know where you're going in order to reach that destination, because you can't just say, I'm going to start going, and you don't know where you're going, and I'm going to just stop where I think I'm here. This is my spot. It doesn't work like that.
You got to chart course.
And so we've lived in a society for so long that we allow everyone else to dictate our destination, but we don't know where we're going. And when they do that, then you lose your way, because you're doing something that someone else has already charted for you, then you charted for yourself. We got man, this thing was went by so fast. We got like 5 minutes, right? We got about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I want you to speak to the millennials, the young people. I want you to take some of this time to encourage them, give them some advice. What would you want them to be in the next year or so? Because I like short-term goals. Like, give them some inspiration, and then after that, let people know where they can find you, what you're doing right now, and any type of social media platforms.
Give them a message of inspiration. First off, I have to get on social media. I'm a social media monk. I've been decleansing myself from it.
Okay. Say that louder. He said
I'm a social media monk. Hi, my name is Jalen. I'm an alcoholic.
No, he's a social media monk.
I'm a social media monk, guys.
Go ahead.
I will get out there. But as far as aspiration goes, I want to think about that. I don't want to just throw something out there.
No.
We're Kobe. We're in a generation where we still have conversations. We still can remember conversations with those born in the 20s, those born in the 30s, and sooner than later they will no longer be on this earth. And those lessons, we're their final students, many of us. It's imperative that we take advantage and don't leave value on the table, and that we're not afraid of the power that's within us and to claim it. Our people come from where we come from, and we know where we come from, but they got here because they believed in the next generation. So if we don't use all that we were taught, all that we were giving, to make sure that the next generation is better, if we don't sacrifice a little personal gain, there won't be us for long. It's imperative right now that we are in a consequential generation. So much of value systems of old ways and new ways, tradition and new wave, are breaking. The cycle is breaking. So if the trauma is also breaking, which is a positive, we are a generation that wants to break chains. That is super powerful.
Right.
But in breaking those chains, remember, not all chains are applied equally. And some things are not to keep us in bondage, but to keep us in bond with one another.
Okay.
So I would definitely say stick together, be hyper vigilant. Above all, black men, black women, be hyper vigilant. Keep your head on your swivel, and please do not let this take you under. Come do what I'm doing. It's not in a public setting, but face it. If you have this conversation with your friend, face it. We have to face it. We have to face what we were given, what we were taking, and we have to go through it together, because nobody's coming to save us, and nobody needs to save us. We have what it's in to save ourselves. So I would just say that.
Thank you. That's Jalen Pulliam, y'all. He is very profound. I think he laid the groundwork for conversation. Millennials is where can they find you? If he's somewhere you guys want to chat with him.
I give him my number.
If you feel safe enough to do that, but if you don't have any social media,
no. I guess you can find me on Facebook.
Okay.
Jalen Pulliam. I spell my name the same way Jalen Rose, who gave us the name, spells it. The correct way to spell it. No Y. It's Jalen. And last name is Pulliam. P as in power. Ulliam as in magnet.
Okay, so you hit him up on his Facebook, y'all, if y'all want to have further conversation. And
I don't know what my profile picture is right now. So if there's another Jalen Pulliam, just follow them all or whatever.
Gotcha. Well, hey, man, he said it all. There's nothing else for me to say at this point.
I do have one more thing to say.
What's
Thank
that?
you.
Oh, man.
For the space. Thank you for holding space for me. Thank you for reaching out.
Absolutely.
Thank you for getting in contact with my best friend in the world, Mercedes Joyner. Thank you.
All right.
And just, I really appreciate it, DC. I really appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully we can do something else again.
Man, I appreciate you coming in and telling your truth, living in your truth, being the young man that you are, helping to change brothers' minds. The mindset is a huge thing. And I think if we could wrap our minds around having a different mindset, I think we can move a little bit further along down this road. He said something that I'm going to say before I get out of here. We have to learn how to connect with the people that came before us. Our ancestors, the people that came before us, is our greatest resource. It's not money. It's not prestige. It's not power. It's learning from the ones before us why we're meant to be in the place that we're here. And guess what? God has blessed us all to endure a lot of stuff. We are strong. We're a resilient people. Let me say that again. Black people are strong and resilient. Always remember that. And as I always say when I end my show, we all have the ability to change our circumstances only if we focus on what we can change. Thank you, Jalen, for joining Mentality Unchained. We out.